Let me tell you about the day my wife got arrested for parking in our own driveway. Yeah, you heard me right. Not on the street, not on someone else's property, but right there in front of our own house after working a 20-hour shift. That's when I realized suburbia had its own little warlords, and ours wore a neon pink blazer and called herself the president of the HOA. Her name Barbara Johnson. To this day, I see that name and I hear sirens. It started before we even unpacked. The moving truck had barely pulled away when Barbara materialized on our doorstep holding a clipboard that looked heavy enough to use as a weapon. "Welcome to Harmony Heights," she boomed, flashing a smile with more teeth than warmth. "I'm Barbara, your HOA president, and I'm here for your first fee, $500 plus a $200 new resident assessment." I almost spit out my coffee. $700, not even a toothbrush out of the box. My wife Elena came down the hall, still half asleep, dark hair a mess, but sharp as ever. She worked late nights in office work, which sounded vague but paid the bills. Barbara eyed her up and down, taking mental notes the way a shark circles a swimmer, and repeated cash or check cash preferred for the assessment. Helps with bookkeeping. The way she said bookkeeping, I could practically hear the wink. She started rattling off the 147 rules of Harmony Heights. Yes, 147 I counted. And Elena just slipped away like some sort of urban ninja. Next thing I knew, she'd installed our security cameras in under 5 minutes. "Since when do you know electrical work?" I asked later. "YouTube University," she grinned, but her eyes said she was used to much worse. I caught Barbara out front later chewing out our elderly neighbor Raymond as he watered his flowers. "Still here, Raymond," she hissed. "Thought you'd learned your lesson after what happened to Mrs. Thompson." The poor man looked like he'd seen a ghost. "One day, Barbara," he muttered, "one day someone will stop you." Barbara just cackled and threatened to call Adult Protective Services. I watched from my window, suddenly grateful for those cameras Elena had put up. By noon, the violations started rolling in emails, pinging like a slot machine. "First trash bin at improper angle fine, $25. With a photo, of course, snapped from Barbara's window. Next oil stain exceeds maximum fine, $50. Then blinds are the wrong shade of white fine, $75. By dinner time, we were $150 in the hole, not even 24 hours in. Elena glared across the street at Barbara's window, where binoculars flashed in the sun. "What kind of person documents her neighbors like this?" she whispered. As if on cue, another email. Inappropriate discussion of HOA business. $100 fine. Attached a photo of us in our own living room. That was the moment I realized we hadn't moved into a neighborhood, we'd moved onto a surveillance show, and Barbara was the star. 12 days of this circus, and it only got worse. At 4 a.m., Elena, exhausted from work, parked our car slightly crooked, one tire barely kissing the grass. By 5:30, Barbara was narrating into her phone, "Day 12 of surveillance. Suspects display continued antisocial behavior. Possible drug deal." At 6 a.m., the real show started. Barbara in pajamas, covered with tiny handcuffs, screaming into a megaphone for the police. "There's a bomb in that car," she shrieked as the officers arrived, blue and red lights flickering on our front lawn. "I demand you call your supervisor, call the governor, call the president. I pay your salary." The cops looked like they'd drawn the short straw. "Ma'am, it's just a Camry parked in a driveway." Barbara was just getting warmed up. She dialed her son Tyler, a 30-year-old living in her basement, whose last real accomplishment was winning a hot dog eating contest at community college. He staggered out in a homemade security uniform, price tag still dangling from the collar, and a plastic badge that probably came from a laser tag party. "Tyler, detain everyone," Barbara yelled. The officers tried to keep the peace, but Barbara had an audience now, neighbors in robes clutching coffee, some recording for posterity. You could feel the collective suburban cringe. Elena stepped outside, hair still messy, patience worn thin. "Barbara, I live here. That's my car. I'm going back to bed." But Barbara doubled down now, live streaming to her so-called thousands of followers, probably just her bridge club and a few bored cousins. She's admitted it. It's her bomb car. Tyler, detain her. Tyler's hands shook so badly he looked like he was trying to pet a cactus. "You're under arrest. Please." But here's the twist. Elena had always been cagey about her job, never bragged, never said much. In that moment, she straightened up, reached into her jacket, and pulled out a real badge, gold, shining in the sunrise. "I am Sheriff Elena Martinez, County Sheriff's Department. Tyler Johnson. You're under arrest for impersonating an officer. You could have heard a pin drop. Well, except for Barbara shrieking, 'That's fake. You bought that on Amazon.'" The police officers stepped aside, jaws open, as Elena calmly cuffed Tyler with real restraints, called for backup, and read him his rights. Barbara tried to rush her, but Elena held her off smooth as butter. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for conspiracy and filing false reports. Please stop talking." Like asking the sun not to rise, Barbara just kept on. By noon, the whole neighborhood knew what had gone down, but if you thought Barbara was done, you'd be dead wrong. She made bail in record time. Her bridge club crowdfunded it before lunch. That same afternoon, her house turned into a war room, her teenage nephew Kevin at the laptop splicing video like a propaganda specialist. By nightfall, the internet was ablaze, elderly woman terrorized by rogue sheriff. All the context gone, Tyler's costume edited out, Elena's badge made to look like a weapon. Barbara's tears of rage recut as fear. Within a day, the video went viral. News outlets picked it up, and suddenly, we were the villains. The hate mail started, then the threats, then a brick through our window. That's when Raymond came back, trembling but determined, clutching a box of documents. "Barbara Johnson is a cancer," he said. "Inside 5 years' worth of files, forgeries, financials, all of it. She destroyed Mrs. Thompson, drove Mr. Miller to the edge. I kept records. She never thought I'd have the guts." My hands shook as I leafed through the evidence. Fake fines, laundered money signatures she'd forged. Elena, meanwhile, was suspended from duty pending investigation, public outrage too hot to ignore. Barbara threw herself a victory party complete with a cake that said, "Justice served," in blood-red icing, DJ spinning country pop, and T-shirts crowning her the neighborhood hero. All the while, her supporters circled like vultures, calling for Elena's removal. But see, I'm not just the quiet husband. I'm a software engineer with a few tricks. While Barbara partied, I cracked her Barbara's Kingdom Wi-Fi password, admin 023. Yeah, real secure. Pulled every camera feed, every email, every recorded confession. There it was. Cash-counted fake invoices made HOA funds funneled to Elite Security LLC, which was just Tyler's empty account. Her emails. She literally wrote out how to launder the money, then sent it to her son. Evidence top to bottom. And the final nail. A home video drunk on champagne. Barbara boasting to a friend, "Nobody threatens my kingdom. I learned from the best. Senator Stevens taught me how to hide money. These sheep deserve to be fleeced." The next HOA meeting, Barbara tried to whip the crowd into a frenzy, playing her doctored video on repeat, spinning her sob story. That's when I stood up with Raymond's files and a drive full of her own camera footage. The place went dead silent. Even Tyler crumbled on the stand, confessing the whole plot, shaking and sobbing, "Mom made me." The security company was fake. I can't live this lie anymore. The FBI walked in right then, slapping cuffs on Barbara and announcing charges of federal racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy, the works. Barbara screamed all the way out, wig flying, yelling for her lawyer, her mom, and at one point, Jesus. The judge apologized to Elena on behalf of the court, reinstated her on the spot, and the whole room cheered as Elena got her badge and sidearm back, tears rolling down her cheeks. 6 months later, the neighborhood felt like a different world. I was voted in as HOA president. First order of business was burning the old rule book at a community barbecue. Tyler went back to college to become a real social worker. Elena's back at work, grilling burgers in her civvies, kids asking, "Are you the sheriff who stopped the mean lady?" She'd kneel down and tell them, sometimes being a sheriff just means standing up to bullies. As for Barbara, 15 years federal, and rumor has it she's trying to run the prison book club like an HOA. Her last words on the outside, "I'll be back." Tyler just shook his head and said, "Not if I can help it, Mom." Now, some say justice was served. Others argue power always corrupts. Me, I say sometimes the real heroes are the ones who keep receipts, who stand up even when the mob is screaming. That's how we won, by fighting back, by refusing to bow to a bully in pink. So if you've ever had a Barbara in your life, you know what I mean. Drop your thoughts below. Was this justice or just another kind of war? Let's hear your side.